Shabbat Shalom, everybody. That was an awesome introduction. Thank you to Jonathan Dimmock. Beautiful. I'm Rabbi Jessica Graf, together with Cantor Toby Glaser, Rabbi Abby Phelps, and all the rest of the CSI team. We welcome you to Congregation Shereth Israel tonight, remotely and yet all together. We will continue with the welcoming of a member of our Board of Trustees, Rabbi Phelps.
Indeed. So this evening, we have the great pleasure of welcoming the chair of our membership committee and also one of our board members, Christina Jefferson, to greet everybody on behalf of the board. So if we can highlight Christina for a moment. There she is. Please go ahead and say hello to everybody.
Hi,
I love your earrings. Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's Black History Month. Got to do it. Hi, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Congregation Shereth Israel. As Rabbi Phelps said, I am Christina, the member of the Board of Trustees and also chair of the membership committee. As you heard, I've been Black History Month. It's something I do a lot of work in, and I talk a lot about history. But I think tonight I was thinking, what am I going to talk about today? And I think I want to talk about future. And what I want to say is a group of young folks that are the future of our synagogue that have been so impressive in the last couple of weeks of like organizing all this Hamantaschen and all these things are city kids. And so I've had the pleasure of watching them grow up. And I just want to say thank you to all the work that they do and the history that they're creating. And I just wanted to say I appreciate that in order from them, but also Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. And yeah, it's not too late if you're within the bounds of San Francisco to get in on this Mishloach Manot excitement that the teens are providing us with this year. They're doing a really extraordinary job, as Christina said. Well, we'll begin our celebration of Shabbat with some introductory music to get us in the mood for welcoming this spiritual time. So please join us in Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon. Mi melech Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Shalchei Hashalom, Malachi Elyon. Mi melech Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch ni l'shalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon. Mi melech Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. צאתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. ממלך מלאכי המלאכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
As we prepare to light our Shabbat candles, to bring the light and the warmth and the joy of Shabbat into our eyes and into our homes, it's my pleasure to introduce Zachary Camille, whose bar mitzvah is coming up in May, and who I believe is joined by his father, David Camille. At least last I saw, if we could spotlight them for a moment, we will be able to see their beautiful candlesticks. Ah, there they are. Hello, gentlemen.
We're trying to unmute.
You're good. You're unmuted. We can hear you.
Okay. All right.
How are you doing this evening?
Good. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. So please feel free to light for us and give us the blessing.
Oh. Okay, if they'll cooperate. I'll find another one. right, I left them. I'm sorry.
That other candle's trying to thwart you. You're getting close though. You're having less trouble than we usually have on the Bima.
Oh, that's the good news. Matches. They're old matches.
Yeah.
Probably years old.
There we go.
There you go.
The drama builds. Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher gidishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehad likner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Yasher Koach, beautiful chanting, Zachary.
Amen. Beautifully done. And we will get to see Zachary and David again towards the end of our service, when Zachary will also lead us in Kiddush, because he is a very studious and accomplished gentleman, and we're excited to share everything he's learned with the community. In the meantime, we have quite a lot more Shabbat to celebrate. So we now enter the moment where we try to place ourselves out into the fields in the Galilee and imagine ourselves welcoming in the Sabbath in the form of the Shabbat bride. Please join us in Lecha Dodi.
So much Shabbat to celebrate. Lecha Dodi, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. lecha דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, ישמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ושמו תפארת לתהילה. lecha דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. lecha דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי כמקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. lecha דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. lecha דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, כי באורך כוני אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני אלייך נגלה. lecha דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. lecha דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. We rise as we are able to greet the Sabbath bride. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. lecha דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. lecha דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. lecha דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. lecha דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
We now invite you to remain standing or to rise as able as we join together in becoming formally one prayer community with the Baruch Hu.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. יאי די 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 די
You may be seated. In Ahavat Olam, we recall God's endless love for us expressed through not only the creations, the wonderful world that we find ourselves in, but also Torah and mitzvot, all the instruction we are given and how to work with God and be God's agents here on earth. Please join us for Ahavat Olam.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו וקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגן יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
At This moment in our service, we have the opportunity to recall another great moment from Jewish mythological history, the moment where we stood at the shores of the Sea of Reeds and witnessed the parting of the seas, the closing of the seas, and looked out on the vast expanse of the wilderness and understood that we had attained new freedom. We celebrate that freedom together by singing Mi Chamocha.
Ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh, nora tehilot osef eleh, malchutecha ra'uva necha, בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים, זה לי. ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. יאי די די יאי די 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 יאי די 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 יאי די 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 dai.
I have often thought and said in the past year that Hashkivenu takes on greater meaning for us during this time when we're all so dependent on the shelter that we have in our homes. But I have been thinking that all the more so lately as it has been so rainy and gloomy out, and I am incredibly grateful to have warmth and shelter and safety over my head. So let's join together in giving thanks for the Sukkah of Shalom, the shelter of peace that extends over us with Hashkivenu.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. Shelter us beneath your wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 Amen.
As we prepare ourselves for the Amidah, I want to share this reading that we often read for Mi Chamocha, but I think as much as a communal miracle is part of our service, so too our individual miracles and ability to stand individually and together before God. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land. that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. We stand together as one community, even as we march individually, saying those words of praise, calling out to God as individuals in the way that each of us needs to.
Yada die die die, 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 yada die die die. Adonai שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Yada die die die, 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 yada die die die. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך? מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. We pray for a few moments in silence and return for a blessing for peace. shalom במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
At some point, when I was a kid, I went through a phase of reading the Chumash, the Torah in book form, before I went to sleep at night. I guess we could have guessed at that point that I might someday become a rabbi. My favorite bedtime readings were from the book of Leviticus. To my kid brain, they were the perfect combination of amusingly arcane and boringly sleep-inducing. I loved reading all about how to get rid of the various molds that might appear on one's walls, or the elaborate ritual whereby a person afflicted with the skin disease Tzara'at could re-enter their community. Back then, I found these texts entertaining, but not especially relatable. Today, as an adult and as a rabbi, I feel compelled to take them more seriously and to find a way to extract meaning and relevance from them. And this is not always so easy. One of the texts that I often find challenging in terms of deriving contemporary meaning is this week's Parsha, Parshat Truma. It begins with God instructing Moses to invite the people to contribute precious materials to the building of the Mishkan, the portable sanctuary that the Israelites are to carry with them as a dwelling place for God. It then goes on to explain in excruciatingly minute detail exactly how and from what each part of the Mishkan should be made. Reading through the descriptions of the many poles, knobs, and curtains that are to make up the Mishkan, it can be easy to feel one's eyes begin to glaze over. And it doesn't help that all of these details are recapitulated later in the Torah, with the actual process of building the Mishkan is recounted. The challenge of the list-like format of this Parsha aside, it's difficult to relate to on a deeper level as well. It instructs us to build a structure that is rendered obsolete as soon as the temple in Jerusalem is built, let alone after the temple is destroyed and Jewish life and worship are radically reimagined. While some of the components described for the Mishkan have inspired features of contemporary synagogues, including our own, the Mishkan as a whole would have no place or purpose in today's Jewish world, nor even in the world of the Torah's authors, the most ancient of whom would still have lived well after the wanderings described in the Torah took place. However, after reading a Devar Torah published this week by Rabbi Yitz Greenberg, I wonder if at least part of my analysis may be flawed. Greenberg calls our attention to Maimonides' teaching about animal sacrifice in the Torah, something which Maimonides would certainly have abhorred had anyone attempted to do it in his own time. But Maimonides argues that the Torah had to include worship via sacrifice, rather than what he regarded as a more elevated spiritual practice like prayer, because belief in the efficacy of sacrifices was too widespread to be ignored. It was deeply embedded in the cultures of the ancient Near East, and the Israelites would have rejected any system of worship that did not include animal sacrifice. Greenberg continues, I had always read Maimonides' judgment as a downgrade of the liturgical value of sacrifices. Now, I understand he was offering an implied counter message. The Torah was given as an act of love by God. The Torah dwells on tabernacle and sacrifices because these gave the Israelites the sense that they were truly in touch with God and earning divine blessing, forgiveness, and love through sacred activities. In other words, as alien as the ideas of sacrificing animals or carrying around a portable dwelling for God might seem to us today, for the Torah's earliest audience, these would have seemed like powerful and logical avenues for connecting with the divine. Greenberg and Maimonides' assessments echo a famous Talmudic teaching that the Torah speaks in the language of human beings. And just as human beings evolve, so too must our understanding of Torah evolve. This is the sacred project that we continue to this day, in Divrei Torah and in Torah study, the project of seeing Torah as both timeless and accessible, filled with ancient wisdom, but infinitely adaptable to the needs of each generation. With this in mind, I return to Parshat Truma with a renewed determination to find timely and relatable lessons within it. And I was able to come up with a few. First, Truma reminds us of the power of a beautifully appointed, shared sacred space, the way that it can inspire awe and wonder and help us connect more deeply with our worship. This is something I imagine we all remember well from gazing up at the dome of our sanctuary during services back in the before times, but it can feel awfully remote to us today in our socially distanced lives. Alas, we are not able yet to physically gather in our grand sanctuary. However, Parshat Truma also reminds us that shared spaces can take unusual forms. A portable dwelling place for God would have been a remarkable innovation in the ancient world, where divine beings were generally understood to be bound to particular geographical regions. The portability of the Mishkan implicitly testifies to the mobility and therefore the greatness and the universality of the God of Israel. So what would it look like for us to build a Mishkan today? I would suggest that it looks like exactly what we're doing right now, creating a shared, sacred, virtual space that draws us together across physical space, united by our determination to communicate with God and with each other. If the Mishkan represented God's mobility, this virtual prayer space takes us one step further toward the understanding that God transcends place and space altogether, existing nowhere and everywhere all at once. And it reminds us that directing our actions and intentions toward God is a way of making space for God that is always available to us. I also think that there is a powerful lesson in the juxtaposition of Parshat Truma, in which God speaks to Moses from atop Mount Sinai, and the events that take place simultaneously at the foot of the mountain, several parashot later, the creation of the golden calf. It cannot be coincidence that the Israelites, as they anxiously and impatiently await their leader's return, decide to use the very materials that are meant to beautify God's dwelling place to create an idol to a false God. Their example forces us to acknowledge that no matter how challenging our circumstances, and wandering through the wilderness was nothing if not challenging, we always have precious resources at our disposal, whether those are gold and silver or time and attention, and that we have an obligation to put those resources towards sacred purposes. We must use what we have to improve the world, not damage it. to care for others, not just ourselves, and to bring honor to God, not disgrace. Our tradition teaches that everything we possess is a gift from God, and every time we choose how to spend our resources, we have an opportunity to repay that gift. This Shabbat, may we continue to make space for God, consider how to spend our resources wisely, and of course, carry on our sacred project of keeping the Torah alive in this and every generation. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Yishar Kochech. I think you probably were the only kid in the history of the universe to have loved Leviticus so deeply, but I'm glad that you did and that it led you here today. We'll continue our service with Misha Berach as we say a prayer of healing, a prayer for wholeness for those in our community and in our hearts who need a sense of peace of body, of mind, and of spirit. Tonight, we pray for the healing of Shoshana Chana Asher, Rabbi Alexander Duchovny, Michael Enery, David Habib, Ruth Kagan, William Kurian, Carolyn Reznikoff, Carolyn Olson-Stellman, Loie Tolson, Hilary Van Trees, and those whom you mention out loud now or in the chat for us to see.
Berach Avotenu Mekor habracha Imotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Berach Imotenu Mekor habracha Avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Even in the midst of challenge, or maybe especially in the midst of challenge, we're so grateful for the miracles and the blessings all around us. We join in these words of thanksgiving as we honor God for the great blessings which surround us at all times. Thank you, God, for giving us life and sustaining us and enabling us to reach this day. If you are sharing a simcha with someone in your family, or you'd like to share it with us here in the community, please write into the chat so that we can join with you in celebrating and wish you all Mazel Tov.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Well, lots of things coming up. Excellent.
Yes, vaccines and good health, and hopefully more and more and more of that. So soon we will be able to be together and wishing each other Shabbat Shalom with hugs in person. We continue our service with Aleinu. It is upon us to keep building a world that we believe in, a world that fulfills our vision of dignity and honor for each person. Aleinu.
There we go. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמן והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. On this Shabbat, if you are observing Shiva or Shloshim, the first 7 or 30 days of mourning, please share a name in the chat. In our community, we remember during Shloshim, Dr. Elliot Eisenberg and Dr. Doba Gendelman. The Perpetual Memorials in our congregation are Judith M. Escalante Melvin and Art Rosenberg. The Yahrzeit anniversaries on this Shabbat are, I'll read the list of names for our community, but please share other names for Yahrzeits out loud in your homes or in the chat. Irene B. Anderson, Jean Anderson, Lorraine Blockley, Homer Carey, Sidney Chabin, Emmanuel Fine, Cecile Felper, Louis J. Fagone, Anita Rothblatt Capel, Bessie Landisman, Minette Lasky, Janet Levinson, Sarah E. Miller, Jack Mervis, Helen Moss, Harriet Ross, Elsie Abrams Seff, and Erwin Sladnick. May their memories be a blessing. We join together in words of Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish, which doesn't mention death, but rather praises God for the privilege of these lives. Yitgadal ve'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach yirteh ve'amlich malchuteh, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'bizman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'amei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata ta'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlam Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Hosei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all mourners everywhere. And we say together, amen. We'll continue our service with just a few announcements about the things that are going on in our community coming up. Gordon.
Hey there, hi there, ho there. Hey, look, spotlit myself. Just want to let you know about a couple of things around next week on Wednesday, the 24th. We'll be hosting District Attorney Chesa Bodine. Sure to be a very interesting discussion. He's drawn a lot of press. That is the polite Midwesterner in me. I think everybody should tune in and hear his answers to some of the questions we'll pose to him. Also next week, Purim. So grab a grogger, get some Hamantash in, mix yourself a stiff drink, and the Cantor and the crew will entertain us with a charming tale set in 1960s California. And more than that, I won't give away because spoiler alerts. On the 10th of March, we'll be having Hyas as part of our From the Front Lines discussion series, a panel discussion. Also, the president of Hyas will be joining us the Shabbat prior for Immigrant Shabbat. And finally, actually, it's probably not finally, but next anyway, if I can find Lindsay out there in the audience.
May I quickly add something about the event on the 10th?
You do that, and I will look for Lindsay.
Wonderful.
There she is.
So yes, as you said, March 5th, we'll be observing Refugee Shabbat, which is an initiative of Hyas. We're looking forward to seeing President and CEO Mark Hetfield there. And then on the 10th, we will have both a representative from Hyas and also a representative from the Interfaith Movement for Human Integrity, which is less well known, but a really excellent organization that does incredible work to support refugees and immigrants. So please come to both of those events.
Excellent. Okay, and now, with no further ado, Synagogue President Lindsay Bronig, what have you got to say for yourself?
Hello, Shabbat Shalom. I wanted to let everyone know that we are starting something new. They're called affinity groups, and it's basically an opportunity to join with other congregants for monthly meetings for 6 months, so 6 meetings total, around a common interest. And the signups are going out on Monday, so look for the email. That'll be Monday morning, and it's limited to 12 people per group. So keep an eye out if there are things that you're particularly interested in. I'm going to give you the quick list, okay? A current events discussion group with Michael Krasny, and a discussion group around financial markets and current events with Ira Fateman and Randy Kahn, challah baking with Nancy Sheftel-Gomes, knitting with Valerie Jahan, Peloton riding with yours truly, real life and fictional crime stories with Michael Gaines and Eric Sapphire, game night with the Benjamins, grandparenting during COVID with Roz Tolson, and multi-generational households making it through the pandemic as a team with the Spurbers. So think about which one appeals to you most. We're gonna at first limit it to signing up for only one. And then if we still have open space after a few days, we will open it up to multiple signups. All right, I hope everyone signs up and has a wonderful time.
And those will be going out on Monday morning, provided I get an email drafted and I don't have any typos in it.
Awesome, lots of good stuff. Did you say I didn't hear it? If you did, please join Rabbi Phelps tomorrow morning for Torah study. Did we say that?
You know what? I completely spaced on that. She, started going on and on about reading Leviticus in bed, and I was like, yeah, whatever.
We're not going to read Leviticus in bed tomorrow. And yes, I am a nerd, but tomorrow morning should be fun. Please come.
Awesome, lots of great stuff. And now, without further ado, Zach Camille is going to lead us in Kiddush. Zach, where are you? Let's see if we can see you again. Maybe. I see Rabbi Abby, but maybe Zach's
Still here.
They're there. We can
there
see
we
them.
go. Okay, Zach and Dad. Who has a Kiddush cup, hold it up.
I'll just hold it.
Fill it with wine or grape juice, and we celebrate the sacred time.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pari hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho behava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lama'aseh b'deheshit ki yom tehilacha mikra kodesh zecher litziat Mitzrayim kivanu b'charta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amin v'shabbat kol sheha b'hava ha'vratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. Yashikoach. Beautiful chanting.
Chaim, what a beautiful job you did. That was amazing. And now I'm going to invite our birthday boy with a big, big, big birthday, and Ari, to hold up her kind of big Barbie challah. It's like for the whole Barbie community, I think. And anyone else who has a challah out there, or bread nearby, to join together.
Anyone else having a 21st birthday?
Anyone else having a 21st birthday, right? Exactly like John. We'll join with you guys in the Motzi.
Motzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices join in happy chorus as our prayers
We said, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
B'tei Avon.
Avon, yes.
Shalom. Ari's outstanding mom put butterfly sprinkles on her Barbie challah.
Nice one, Mom.
Hope you all have a delicious bite of something and a wonderful, sweet Shabbat ahead. Shabbat Shalom. We will close our service, I think, with Lincoln's Nigun. Cantor, is that true?
I think I changed it and then I didn't update it for you. I'm so sorry. No, I thought since we're coming up to Purim, I didn't mean to throw a curveball in there. We're going to close with La Yehudim, a setting by Noam Katz. This liturgy comes from the Megillat Esther, from the Megillah, and we also use it for Havdalah. La Yehudim haita ora v'simcha v'sason vikar. The Jews enjoyed light and gladness and happiness and honor. Ken tihiyeh lanu, so may it be for us. And next week is going to be very silly, so I thought we would do a bit more of a serious Purim text for this week. And this is a beautiful setting by Noam Katz, a rabbi in Canada. La Yehudim haita ora Vesimcha Vesason Vikar. La Yehudim haita ora Vesimcha Vesason Vikar. Ken tihiyeh lanu. Ken tihiyeh lanu. Tihiyeh lanu. Tihiyeh lanu. Ken tihiyeh lanu. Tihiyeh lanu. יהודים, הייתה אורה, הייתה אורה, ושמחה וששון ויקר. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Where's the cacophony?
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.